Welcome to CXO, a magical podcast to help you serve better and concoct experiences that are superlative in nature. I'm your host, Supriya Sharma, bringing to you in each episode didactic nuggets so you can get inspired to sprinkle stardust in your company, your home, and the community on the whole.
So here with me today is Dennis Wakabayashi, the global voice of CX, the connector of people and resources leading to accelerated business transformation. Dennis is also an author, a public speaker. In fact, a very difficult to get public speaker. I know how difficult it was for me to get him onto my show, and a marketing instructor at the University of Wisconsin. So welcome to CXO, Dennis.
Thank you, Supriya. It's an honor to be here, and it's a double honor to be in the presence of someone who has the global presence that you do, being an author of all these books and all the great work that you do. And thank you for fitting me into your schedule on this special day of ours.
And what is so special about day? Happy CX Day.
Yes, happy CX Day.
Yeah, so in fact, we would have come with some cake and some wine. We got to celebrate the CX Day, right?
Yes. So I'm going to celebrate with some coffee. And what are you going to celebrate with?
Well, I'm celebrating with you, unless I'm out of this, and I'll definitely get a muffin or a cupcake to celebrate the CX Day, and you'll see the post on social media then. I'll make sure I post it. Okay, so Dennis, what is the CX Day? Will you help our listeners get accustomed to this concept of CX Day? What do we actually mean by that?
Well, I think CX Day started, I believe, was it 1992? 1992.
Way back then.
Yes, 1992's CX Day, I think, was born out of customer service and the need to bring attention to the fact that the customer is important. So it's been a big day. You know, what's interesting about it is it came at a time coming out of service design. Service design had been around for about 10 years. And they started to have business processes. They had just-in-time manufacturing that really brought the fiscal or financial benefit to the customer aligned to supply chain and operations together. It wasn't, in fact, until 1994 that customer experience as a full business methodology and process was, I think, finally thought through. And even more interesting, Supriya, it wasn't until 20 years later that this smartphone put e-commerce in the palm of our hands, enabled customers everywhere. So even though it's Customer Experience Day, I really think the day that the customer came of age was 20 years later in 2014. And then after that, we still didn't have a full-blown community. So we've all been in this just for less than 10 years. And I think the last couple of years is the first time we've seen all of our global voices start to come together, which brings us to today and you and I talking. So yeah, it's been a long time. Customer Experience Day is kind of a special thing for all of us. It's nice to spend it with you.
But then, okay, let's clarify this. The Customer Experience Day, is it specifically meant for CX professionals like us? So we preach the idea of customer experience and providing that magical experience to our customers, or it's a special day dedicated to the customers in specific, and we do some nice things for our customers today, and we talk all things CX.
You know, thank you. Spoken like a true CX leader. It's all about the customer, you know. I think the reason I lean in on the CX methodologies and business functions is I think it was always important to give our customers our very best, but customers are very best at scale. That really is just now coming into being. So, you know, I think if you think about back before there was digital, it would take a long time to send a little birthday note by hand to all your customers, and there would be a limit to the number you could send in a day. But now you could have a brand send out a happy a happy message to customers, 2-3 million at a time on this day. So you're right. It is always about the customer being at the center.
Coming to having so many customers, and depending on the size of the organization, some organizations are just beginning or they're starting, so they have a limited customer base, let's say 20, 25 customers. And on the other hand, like you mentioned, you have 2, 3 billion, 5 billion customers. Now, where does the customization come in here? As a customer myself, okay,
yes,
customer of a company who has 2 billion customers, I still expect some kind of customization, some kind of special treatment. I want to be treated special. I want to be made feel special. That how can companies actually make sure that they're providing that making you feel special treatment to all their customers in spite of having so many customers at once?
Great question. So there are a couple of things. Number one, personalization. There are a lot of tools, as you know, to bring personalization to customers. It could be simply an email that has your name on it. So CRM technologies, I think, are what people go to most. But I also think that in celebration, you'll see brands around the world that they're very clear about their purpose or their intent or their social consciousness around the world. And I think when a brand behaves in a way that's socially conscious and the customers celebrate and support that brand with their dollars or their purchases, I think there's a way for brands to make customers feel special, even in an unpersonalized way, simply by behaving in a way that is respectful and thoughtful and intentful and with purpose for all of the customers who support their brand.
That sounds simple. I mean, I was feeling it's so complex. And how would I do it if I was that organization? How would I go and make each of my customers feel special as I grow in size? But then you made it so simple. Wow, amazing.
Well, yeah, it sounds easy, you know. But I was thinking, if you actually made me think of it. If this was a different day, let's say Mother's Day or some other holiday, if the brand celebrated mothers, so here's an example. Mother's Day as an example. I know that's not a thing everywhere, but just for Mother's Day customers, we'll talk about the US for the moment. One brand who puts up a JPEG or a PNG or an image that says Happy Mother's Day. And another brand who goes to the lengths of filming a 30-second that celebrates the lifetime contribution. So Procter and Gamble once for the Olympics did a spot where they showed children on balance beams playing soccer, in the swimming pool, playing these different sports, show the children sort of struggling and failing, and the drama builds and you're like, oh my goodness, these children, they're struggling, but then you see them start to get better. And so the child gets older and older, and then they get in their teens and their early 20s, and you see them in these championship moments, swimming, winning these medals, hitting this last shot, doing this double, triple flip and landing. And you're like, yes, children's triumphant. And then you see the mother you see the champion in the swimming pool looking at the gold medal win and looking across the stadium to the mother, and then make eye contact. And you see that eye contact from child to mother in all these different sports and all these different stadiums. And every time I watch that commercial, or I see or talk about the commercial of the P&G spot for the Olympics, I get teary-eyed. I think about that triumph of mothers and their children and championship and a lifetime of accomplishment together side by side. So there's an example. One company can do that, and it touches all of the hearts of their customers in a special way. And it doesn't rely on digital technology or algorithms or AI. It's just the gift of storytelling in a way that's empathetic to their customers, to those who support them. It's a way of sort of reinvesting into their own community through content. So I think that there are ways that even in the same day, a brand who says, I'm going to invest maybe on customer experience day, I'm going to invest in the stories, the matter to our constituents, our audiences, our subscribers. I'm going to celebrate what we believe in. I think that can be so powerful.
I can imagine, because as you were describing that commercial, though I have not had a chance to watch it yet, and I can imagine how the emotions would actually fly in as I watch it. But even if you were just describing it to me, I could feel it happening, and I could feel if as if I was one of those children, in that
Yes.
competing ground and looking across to my mother. Brilliant, brilliant. Coming to experiences, and we said experiences that touch and stories that matter. And today you are a special guest at the CX Day. So I would like to ask you this personal question.
Yes.
Tell us about the most amazing, the most magical experience of your life as a customer.
Wow. My most amazing experience. Oh, it reminds me of the time that my wife and I got married in Italy. So this was before the pandemic, before a lot of regulations in the airlines. It was about 25 or so years ago. And we were flying into Italy, into Venice. And my wife brought her wedding dress on the plane so it could hang. So the airline knew that we were getting married in Italy. And as we were coming into the airport, the steward came over and asked my wife and I to stand up, and the captain would like to say something to us. We, of course, thought the captain was going to wish us fair wishes on our wedding. But when we got to the flight deck, they opened the door, and the captain asked us both to come in and sit. They strapped us into the jump seats, into the front of the aircraft, and the captain flew over Venice, Italy, and went around the entire city of Venice so that we could see it all from the air. And it was one of the most romantic and most memorable experiences of our lives. I'm happy to say my wife and I have been married for 25 years. We just celebrated our anniversary, so it worked. But that was one of the most memorable experiences. And I feel kind of glad I can share it with you today since you're in Italy at the moment, are you not?
So beautiful, such magical experiences. And it's such a pleasure to get to know that there exist brands, and not only now, but yes, there used to exist such brands 25 years back when they could create such magical moments for their customers. So beautiful. Thank you so much for opening your heart to us and sharing this story.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Coming back to CX Day, Dennis, what's the theme of this year's CX Day?
I'm not certain. What is it?
And I'll tell you why you aren't certain. Because CX Day, it is not just one day of the year. Every day is a CX Day for us, a CX professional. We do believe in the power of service every day. However, something really funny happens in organizations, and I have actually seen it with my own eyes. So on the CX Day, you have all the senior executives and the CEOs out there giving speeches, recorded messages from customers, huge celebrations going on in the organization. So the first Tuesday in October, yes, that's the CX Day. And the entire environment looks so rosy, and it's a nice celebration at the office. And the next day, all those senior executives have vanished and there are no celebrations anymore. And that's when the customer facing staff in specific, they feel, oh, are we working for an organization for which there's just one day called the CX Day and then they're gone and they're forgotten about it? What do you have to say in that regard?
That's a really good question. In social media, I feel like if we're being totally honest, and I can tell that you like to get totally honest, CX Day, as like with many other days, it's begun to have more value in celebrating it from a business perspective because of the algorithms and the social media content. It gives a theme of the day. And I think you are right. Businesses tend to celebrate customers intermittently. And transformation is very difficult for brands everywhere. It's not easy to implement the people, the platforms, the process, And I think oftentimes brands, they want the glow and they want the benefit and they want to experience what great CX is. And more power to them to claim one day where if it sparks a change in the organization. But the truth is, the reason I think the fanfare and the celebration ends after a day or two is because being great at customer experience requires the energy of a lot of people every single day of the year. And it requires an investment. And I don't mean just an investment in money. I mean an investment in the culture and the teamwork. CEOs often ask me, CMOs often ask me, Dennis, where should I invest? I mean, if I could only invest in one place in my customer experience, what is the right place to invest to ensure that my program actually is successful? And what I often tell them is, it's not a financial investment. The first thing you have to do is free, and it's all about teamwork. If you can cultivate different lines of business or different silos, if you can cultivate a sense of collaboration and teamwork across multiple discipline teams, and you can give them permission to celebrate the customer for more than just one day a year, you'll get results that don't require a big budget line item this year. So I think it's really because people think it's about, I think they think it's about technology or strategy, but really the reason it fades is that customer experience is a cultural change for an organization.
Absolutely. And how do we take our games to the next level then, going forward from the CX Day? Our listeners would like to know from you, how can they, as their organizations, take their games to the next level in terms of providing those experiences for customers that are memorable and something that makes their customers come back to them time and again?
I would say if I could make anything happen, magic of CX Day, I would make the day after CX Day and invite someone to the customer experience conversation day, where after the celebration, the next day, everyone in the brand or organization or company say, can I just invite you to a conversation about customer experience? Can we just talk? I wish the first Wednesday of every year was, let's talk about CX Day.
A nice idea. And I'm going to just thieve it from here. And that's what I'm going to implement in my organization, at least to start with.
Well, it'll start with the two of us. And every year we'll meet the day after CX Day and we'll talk about CX and how organizations should just have the conversation, because that's what will enable a culture of customer-centric leaders and practitioners to make the world a better place.
That sounds especially great, because innovation is key to differentiating yourself from the competition, not just the competition, but the economy and the whole. And the idea you just gave is so innovative. Thank you, Dennis, not only for this idea, but for all of your time, for being with us today on this special day, the CX Day. Thank you so much for being with us. We really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. And I hope we do this again next year. We should make this a regular thing. It was unexpected, but it's wonderfully a wonderful surprise that we can celebrate together. Thank you for having me on your show.
So next year, see you on the 6th of October again for the conversation after the CX Day.
Yes.
All right. You have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to CXO with your host, Supriya. I hope you enjoyed a dive into the nitty-gritty of customer experience. If you are committed to applying these ideas in the real world, stay tuned with me. Don't forget to check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.